Hi, I'm Randy, and today we're going to put the bearings in the swing arm for my 1985 Softail. Before we get started on that, when I bought that motorcycle in 1985, I also bought the manual. Whenever I bought a car, I bought the manual. When I bought a motorcycle, I bought the manual. It was the way to go. You can't do that anymore. I really hate that. But this has come in handy so many times. The binding is getting loose, it's getting worn out. And even though the motorcycle's set for a really long time, back whenever I was using the motorcycle, I used this thing religiously. I want to talk about what they have to say about changing these bearings. Cleaning, inspection, and repair. This is in the rear swing arm section for FXST, FXSTC, and FLST. The spherical bearings are lifetime lubricated and will require no further attention other than cleaning. The sleeve type spherical bearings, if not damaged, will last the life of the vehicle. Clean the bearing bore with a clean shop towel, removing any dirt or grit adhering to the bearing surface. Really? Okay. If you know anything about spherical bearings, and a lot of cars have them these days for different things, there's nothing to get to. You know, they are self-aligning bearings. That's the beauty of them. There's no balls. You can buy spherical bearings with balls, but these are not those, and they're too small really for that kind of thing. So you can see these are nice. They're tight. And in the swing arm, they don't move very much. So it's always on the same spot. Whenever I pressed out the old ones, it was pretty hard to get them out, and they were still actually good. But you can't powder coat the frame, especially the swing arm, unless you take everything out, as many of you know. So I pushed them apart and bought some new ones. But because the manual doesn't have any instructions, I did some research online, YouTube videos, and nobody had a really good plan. However, you can buy a tool. And of course, any of you that know me know that I'll buy the tool first, always. And it's nice because it has a nice big screw, and it's cut out here so that it clears behind. It leaves the cup, or the spherical portion of it, cleared, so you're not pressing on it, you're only pressing on the outer portion. And I watched some YouTube videos of other guys doing this same job. There's not a lot of videos out there, surprisingly. And I see guys with sockets, big C-clamps. And I tried that, getting these apart. And I don't like to go crazy and start bending things and ruining C-clamps. And I have some good C-clamps. I even have a Wilton C-clamp that would definitely be strong enough to do this job. But I wasn't going to do that. So I went ahead and I bought the tool. Now I think I got this tool actually on Amazon, believe it or not. It was a little bit cheaper than on some of the other online Harley-Davidson dealers. And so that's what I got. Now these things, they come with a snap ring, and the snap ring goes to the inside like that on both sides, facing opposite. And the main point of that, of course, is so they don't move outwards. And you have to set the distance for this. This is the spacer that goes in between. The axle goes inside the spacer, and this also has the mount for the reservoirs for the shocks. So all of that's important. Now, whenever Jay did my powder coating, and he did a great job, Jay Milky Way Powder Coating over in Anderson, Indiana, I don't know that he'd ever done a Softail. And so he masked off the smaller hole down here at the bottom of the swing arm, not up here. I probably didn't tell him that. I think it's the only thing he missed, because all the other screw holes and everything look great. And if you watched my other video, there was no powder coat in the headset area, the neck, whenever I pressed those bearings in. So I got to remove this powder coating. And I talked to Jay. I went over there the other day and dropped off some more stuff. I dropped my wheels off. The wheels in that model are steel, and they've rusted. And I looked into buying new wheels and rims, and it got cost prohibitive. I could buy whole new wheels for what the chrome plater wanted to just polish those out and re-chrome them. And Jay said, well, I can powder coat those. So, all right, he's powder coating them for me. All I have to do is buy some spokes and I'll be back in business. So here we are. I'm going to shut off here for a second. I'm going to get set up here, and I'll show you how we're going to get this out of the center here. It doesn't take much. I've even used a little bit of this as a test, and that was enough, just this Scotch-Brite stuff. But I'm going to use a power tool, because if you can use a power tool, that's always the best thing, because that's the most fun, right? So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I had to get a little bit rougher with this. It didn't clean up as well as I wanted to, so I had to get this coarse Dremel tool. It's basically a coarse piece of Scotch-Brite on a Dremel tool, and that did the job. All right, that stuff's pretty tough. That's why you put it on there. So now we're going to see where we're at on our hole size. Okay. The cats are getting interested in me now. They're wondering what I'm doing. So if we suddenly get a cat in the picture, there's only 8 out here. My wife likes cats. Okay, so I don't like the way that did that. By the way, these are telescoping gauges, and the way they work is you snug them up and you rock them through the hole, and it presses together and stays wherever you rocked them to. I didn't do that very well by hand, but you'll get the picture once I get inside here. So it's an old toolmaker's tool. You still buy them. These are cheap ones. They're kind of rough, so it's hard to get them set just right. But I can't afford to be buying Starrett or Brown and Sharp or Mitutoyo stuff. I'm an old retired dude, and I wasn't a tool maker. I was a tool designer, so I didn't have all the tools that those guys had to have to work with. So I bought cheap stuff. All right, so rock that through there. That should be pretty close. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. And it looks like 430, 432. So if you know how to read these kind of devices, a little bit old school, that's the 0 line right there. And we've got, it's a 1 to 2 inch micrometer, so it's 1 point, and there's a 400 thousandths, and then 25 thousandths, so 425 plus 5, 6, 7. So it's 432 thousandths in the internal diameter. Now we'll compare the outside diameter of the bearing. It's going to go in that hole. And we need at least a light press fit. It doesn't have to be super tight, but we need a press fit. So, okay, and now it measures 425, 435, 432. So it's almost line in line. But what we're going to do is we're going to go in there and freeze these things. I already have the snap rings installed. And the reason I did that is because those go up against the snap rings. I saw some videos about guys saying make sure that the snap ring goes all the way up and isn't able to turn. We have this press that I use to take it apart, and this is what we'll use to put it back together. And I got another little trick I'm thinking about trying to get it a little colder than the freezer will get it. So let's get these guys in the freezer and get them frozen. We'll put all these tools away because I don't need them anymore. Keep this out, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. This is what Jay recommended: a flapper wheel and a Dremel tool, or you could even use emery cloth, and I think that would work pretty good too. So we're going to try this first. I don't really know for sure if this is going to work exactly like this. I think that it's possible I could press these in without doing anything, but I know it's better if you do it this way. So I won't be able to talk probably because this tool will override the sound, but let's get started. Okay, well, it removed some of it, but I don't feel like it got it all. So let's give this emery cloth a little bit of a try. I don't want to get in too big of a hurry on this because you can't put it back on, obviously. And I don't want to damage the powder coating for sure, because that's a very visible part of the motorcycle. Yeah, this is working much better. So in this case here, I've got something else that I probably could have put on the Dremel tool that probably would have moved the material a little quicker, but you could smell it melting. You know, the powder coat is like a polymer, and you spray it on electrostatically. It's just powder, and then whenever you put it in the curing oven, that actually causes all that polymer to melt together. So it is a curing operation, so it's going to bond to the metal. You know, and I talked to him. I asked him about, I mean, I knew the answer, but I asked him about it anyway. Methods to get this off other than mechanical, meaning chemical, and aircraft stripper will remove powder coat. But whenever you do something like that with aircraft stripper, just keep in mind that whatever you touch with it, you can't clean it back up. So you might as well strip everything and completely repowder coat it, because it will bubble up over time. And I asked him about that just out of curiosity, because he certainly has more experience than I do. And this is really my first experience with powder coat and restoration. And he said, oh yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll never get it all up. You'll be back over here. We'll be blasting it and repowder coating it. So this is a small little thing to have to do. And I don't mind at all. So he did a great job. He was easy to work with. He stays pretty busy. And so you have to wait, like with all these guys. My chrome plating is still out. I used an outfit further on south in Indiana, and they wouldn't even do my oil tank, so I kind of panicked on that. I went ahead and left everything else with them. And then I found a place over in St. Louis, family-owned business, and they said, oh yeah, we'll do it. And it's already back, and it looks great. So get back, and we'll talk about the size of these bearings and what it's going to take to get them in there, and how we're going to accomplish that. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, these have been in the freezer for a little while. I just brought one out. I'm only going to show you one. It's the same for both sides. And this should make it smaller, and you can feel where it is kind of wanting to go in easier. Now, I saw this the other day while looking at other YouTube videos. The guy, he had a pretty cool idea, so to speak. And I'm going to try it. So we'll see what happens. This is air duster for your computer. It's a brand new can. I had several cans out there. If you turn this upside down, the temperature change that you're going to get is going to take this down. And he had a thermometer on that, and it went down to minus 100 Celsius. That's pretty cold. So let's see what happens. Can't hurt anything, except your hands. It's very cold. Very, very cold. I did get some gloves out here, and I'm going to put them on here in a second. Okay. This stuff's harmless. Don't worry about that liquid. It'll just evaporate. But I am going to put some gloves on here before I touch that thing. These old hands can't take too much abuse. So, now, this is the socket that this fits in here. And as I said before, the snap ring goes on this side here, and most of the bearing, of course, goes on the inside. So be careful whenever you put this down on here, because you don't want to scratch your brand new powder coating. I've got it, it's kind of got a few marks in it already where I've messed around, but I think some of that's unavoidable. So we'll tighten this up. This is a whole lot easier than the washers and the sockets and everything else, and that all looks good on the underneath side. And then we'll get the big old ratchet out here. It's turning pretty easy. Sliding right in. It's a lot of turns. I'm back. And as you can see, the bearings are already in the swing arm, and I'm sorry you missed all the activity to get those pressed in. And I did have what I thought was a video of the last one that I pressed in, but as it turns out, I had an equipment problem. I think the battery was getting low on the phone. I didn't start with a full charge. That's bad on me. And the Bluetooth microphone adapter does not allow for a cord to go into the bottom of it. It goes directly into the lightning connector. So another lesson learned for the next video. This is a learning process. It's kind of fun. So what I wanted to point out to you was this portion of that tool I had, turns out, was touching the spherical portion, not the outer race. So whenever I was trying to push that in, it was actually hitting that spherical portion and causing misalignments, and then it would cock, and then it would lock up. I'd have to push it back out, back and forth, back and forth. And I tried freezing. I tried my trick with the technical spray, using the lapse rate change to get it down even colder. But if it's a tight fit and not a straight line fit, it's not going to go. I don't care if you could take it down to absolute zero and it's not going to go down there. So anyway, I found that out. So I resorted to what a lot of guys do, 1-inch socket and a small hammer. I don't go after it with a big hammer, just lots of little taps, not big taps. And then I would get it about halfway in to where the race was aligning itself, and then I'd go back to the tool to where I could crank it. Now you'll see on the previous portion of the video, I didn't know it was happening at the time, and you're probably laughing at me because you could see it in the video. I couldn't see it because I was up above, but I did not block this from turning, and you can see where I said, well, it's fine threads, and I'm just cranking away, and everything's all awesome and everything else in this guy. But no, this was turning. It wasn't collapsing at all. And once I finally did get it going the right direction, it was cocked. So I had to push it out anyway. So I apologize. YouTube is full of mistakes, and certainly I'm not perfect at all. So as I said, had I would do this over again, I would get a washer make sure that the hole is this diameter, and then grind off to clear this weld, and then use that to press it on. And I do believe that it would hold it a lot straighter. As it stands, they're in there. And if you'll notice in that one video, I couldn't see it because of the lighting. The lighting in my garage isn't that great. I've got a trouble light actually hanging over here, giving some extra light. The shadows made it so I couldn't tell that I had not removed all of the powder coating from that hole. The one down below was good, but the top one was not, the one that I was measuring. So take all that with a grain of salt. You can comment all you want about it, but I got it together and didn't damage anything. And then this fits in there correctly. Now it's a tight fit. I'm not gonna put it back in again. It's almost line in line. There's not hardly any clearance at all. But this is what the threads actually are for the bolt that goes through the frame and through here, and it's got a shoulder, and then it screws into here, and that's what your rear swing arm pivots on. That's all the load of your big butt going down the road and all that shock and everything else. That's the pivot point. So it is seeing some of that load. Of course, your shocks ease that as time goes on. So that's pretty much it for now. I'll do a better job on the next one. And hope you guys enjoyed this one. You can have a good laugh at my expense. That's all right. So take care.